morning, everybody. Stippling Vaughn, and as you can see, we're at watering hole again and getting some work done. Right now, I'm going to work on this area here with the camera, pushing into the darkness because it's in the foreground, and the important thing is it's framing up the reporter, and she's going to be reporting on what's going on. And you see it's upside down shot, but we got some police officers, we got some emergency vehicles, so something big has happened. The reason why I'm taking the video right now is because the music is down really low, and if I try to record this while the music's really playing, there's a greater possibility of being picked up and being taken off. So I'm going to work on this until they turn the music up, or until, just for a few minutes. I'm not going to work on it too long. It's not that easy to work on it with my hand holding my phone, but I mean, it's something, and you guys can see the progress of how it goes and how I do it. You can see two rings there. This is going to be the lightest area, this is going to be this blend area, and then this is going to be the dark area. This area is not going to be as dark as this area here. I'm going to be probably doing some blending. So, and as you can see, we got some work done on it. So, had fun with the trees. Working with trees, I found, is just do an outline of the foliage, and just start throwing dots in, and that creates your depth and your texture with the trees. You don't have to worry about doing each individual leaf. Working this way is one of the things I have had to do to break me. When I say break me, I'm a George Perez clone. When I really got into comics and really started to discover artists and that there are different artists, George Perez always caught my eye, and I always loved looking at his stuff. I had to buy anything that was George Perez. I've got a huge George Perez collection. I'm very fortunate. I've got about maybe 10 to 12 books that George has signed, and I really like his stuff. And the problem with liking his stuff too much is you start layout-wise, construction-wise, detail-wise, you really start pushing all those, try to be like George because you admire him so much. And with this style, it's not easy. It doesn't work with George Perez's style at all. Unless George is going to be doing a book at night and everything's really dark, then you can really work with him with a pushing point, because he does a very good job of showing so much detail but yet blending it into the darkness. And I've always been a huge fan of his work. Well, doing this, when I first started, I was trying to draw a lot really detailed and then put the dots in, but it just didn't work well together. There's no chemistry, no gestalt to the work. So, as much as I love George's work, I can't look at his stuff anymore, because as soon as I look at just one of his books and how he does a cityscape or how he does a crowd of people, next thing I know, when I'm trying to draw, I start doing that, trying to squeeze as much detail in and everything. And there's two things with George's work. When I see his stuff in black and white without any color, sometimes it's very hard to tell stuff apart because he's so detailed and everything is blended together. And a perfect example is if you take a look at Nick Bradshaw. He just did Bermuda, and in the back of the book he did some covers, and he shows the black and white work, and then he shows the color. And in the black and white, it's so hard to make everything out, whereas everything pops. It's because artists like that, Nick Bradshaw, Art Adams, George Perez, they all, yep, just got a notification. And the problem with the artists that detailed, who draw every single leaf branch and every single tree limb, what happens is it's hard to make stuff out. And if you try to tone all of it, it gets even worse. So when I'm doing this, and I'm doing my page layouts, and then when I start doing the inks, I have to break it down, and I've had to look a lot more at how Alex Toth does stuff. I've had to look more at how Milton Caniff does stuff. And so I'm having to break myself and not look at those artists anymore, and just look at those artists, I should say, and just avoid people like George and Nick and Art. Some artists I look at that are still good for how I do stuff is Ron Friends, Tom Grummett. Both of them are very good at dynamic action, which we all know the master of dynamic action is the King, Kirby. And those guys do a very good job of over-exaggerating action and facial expressions. So I try to do that. This isn't a very good page, except for this bottom panel down here, the overreaction. If you're doing a TV show or a movie, the character wouldn't have that type of overreaction. But I'm not doing storyboards for a TV show or movie. And even if I was, you'd still need to help the director by over-exaggerating the facial expression. Good directors are going to be able to look at storyboards, see that you've over-exaggerated it, and it's their job to then take that and blend it in to how the story's being done. And that's the important thing when you're a director, is to take the storyboards and use the storyboards for direction and motion and movement, and to help move the camera direction and get the angles that you want. So, but for me, when I'm working this way, I have to look at those artists that don't put a lot of detail in and just break down the story to those primary elements. Because part of it is, which I am having to constantly remind myself, is you only need to show so much. The fan or the reader, they're going to fill in the blanks for you. And it's something that's, again, I've had to break myself, because there are so many artists that I like. They're extremely detailed. But at the same time also, the problem that you get with detail is a lot of times unless you're really good at constantly doing dramatic poses, when you have that much detail, it can stiffen the direction and the action of the characters. Two other artists that I really do enjoy, and I mean I really do, is Jerry Ordway and Paul Ryan. Paul Ryan, sadly, is no longer with us, passed away. Paul Ryan's one of those artists I really wish I'd had the opportunity to meet at least once and get at least one book signed by him. I can tell you right now, if I had met him, one of the issues would have been DP7, and the other issue would have been Squadron Supreme. He did a great job on both those books. And those books or I should say those two series, I still, to this day, hold separate from the rest of my collection because I go through them so much. Um, I really, because there's really no value to them. I don't worry about the fact that I've read them so much that they're not in the best of quality, but really good books that you like so much. Uh, keeping the value of the book doesn't matter because if it's that good, you're going to get more. You're going to get multiple sets. Um, I have multiple sets of Crisis of Infinite Earths, and I still like to go through them. But again, right now, I'm not looking at any George Perez. I'm not looking at any Infinite Earths. I'm not looking at any Art Adams. I'm not looking at any Paul Ryan. Because, like I said, as soon as I crack one of those books open and just see one image, when I still go back to pencil, my brain starts thinking that way, and how I need to do the facial expression this way. I need to do the body language this way. I need to do the backgrounds this way. And again, it kills the action. And when you're doing it like this, you got it. Now I'm using the 109 on this. As I said in other streams, or videos I should say, I'm not streaming yet, but in other videos, I like to use the 109 for doing mechanical objects. Okay, let's see how close I can get in before it turns blurry. You can see how the dot has a much more uniform look than, say, around her head. Okay, that was done with a 102. Has a much more organic feel. The dot with these that I'm doing with the 109 are much more uniform, which is ideal for when you're doing mechanical objects. So, now, sorry, I'm not looking at the image through my phone, so as a result, sometimes my phone drifts. Why? Because I need to see what I'm doing. And so, it's early in the bar. It's probably about 1 o'clock. Not too many people here. The people that are here are regulars that don't play the jukebox. So since it's a small crowd, the bartender, he likes to keep the music low, so that way he can talk and interact without having to yell or anything. He can just, and very good bartender. I talked to him when he first came in, and I asked him, I said, when can you recognize the regulars by their vehicle? And he goes, some I recognize by the vehicle, but most of them, because as soon as I see them approaching the front door, because there's large glass windows across the entire front of the bar, but as soon as he sees them in the glass, before they get to the door, he sees them and he knows what we drink. And so he'll have it sitting at the bar. He can probably gauge very quickly. For instance, me, I always sit in this booth. So what he'll do is, right about there, he'll have my drink waiting for me. So because I carry all my stuff in, so I'll first bring my stuff in, I'll carry it to the booth, and by the time I turn around, my drink will be sitting there. That's the sign of a very good bartender that knows his clients. And what do? As soon as I sit down, I turn around, I see my drink there. If he hadn't been doing anything, or if he wasn't busy, I'll pick up my drink, and in its place, I'll have a dollar bill. I'll sit there, give him a tip right off the bat before I pay anything. Why? Because he knows what I drink, and he has it there ready for me. So that's a good sign of a very good. So if you're in the food service industry, where you're just starting the food industry, it's always good to know your regulars and foresee what they're going to want. Most of them, if you have regulars, they want the same thing as soon as they come get in there. They might have some that want other things later on, but initially, there's that one drink that they're going to want right off the bat. So, okay, I've been doing this for about 15 minutes. I gotta clean my nib. You take a look at the nib here, you can see where it's beaten up. When you use a nib in your stippling, and you have to, and it runs low and then it runs dry, and then you have to add more ink, what happens is it starts to pile up on the nib. And if you don't clean the nib, what happens is it can drip off, and then you have a big blotch. So the last thing in the world I want is a big blotch right where I'm inking right now. So I hope you enjoy this. When I get a chance, I'm going to do another video from home. And when I do that video, what I'm going to address is properties that are being redone, and the outcry from people, how they're changing them so much. I have my own personal opinions of it. I also have some insight from my own personal experiences with it. So, hope you will enjoy that just as you're going to enjoy this one. So, you guys all have a great day. And remember, take it all one dot at a time, folks.